everybody. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing.
Well, TCR TJ is the Season 13 Golden Class Champion for Trinity Competitive Racing.
Oh, let's go, dude! Yes!
Jabbar on the podium! He's on it by a 10! Gentlemen, side by side through one.
And Silent, and Seafreeze gets a half spin.
Let's fucking go! Wheel bumping.
DRS enable, let's do it.
And Captain Blade battling it out for position. Captain Blade.
Ickle, what the?
The McChicken goes around and he also makes
Rewind down the front straight. Oh my god. I gotta check the heart rate.
Why do we do this? Because of nights like this.
Yo, welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to episode 38, I do believe, of the Racing Debrief, TCR's podcast, where we combine the world of e-racing, sim racing, and TCR with real-life motorsports and Formula One. A true racing enthusiast listen. I am your host, Seafreeze, alongside my usual co-host of Mr. Camden Luca, and we have a guest here of Forzan, current driver in the Elite Series, multi-race winner in the Platinum class, and we're here for the preseason predictions and all things talk before we get going in Season 17, which starts when this is being recorded on the 29th, but this will be released Tuesday morning, which means it is race day for the Challenger Series, and that will be going live tonight at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, and Camden Luca will have the microphone for that one, and that'll be how we start Season 17. We do have some seats still left, I do believe, in both series, so you can sign up still if you would like. If you know anybody, recommend them to join. That would be great. Elite Series starts their round one Wednesday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. And then for our iRacing series, which is for Super Formula, which is the first season that we're doing it in TCR, that'll be for next season, or next week, rather, excuse me, next week, February 8th, and that will be their round one. So that's Thursday next week, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. We still need a lot of drivers, a lot of help with iRacing, commentators, stewarding. If you know really anybody in the iRacing community, recommend them, send me the username, let us know, or maybe send them the Discord link somehow. All this information is in the description of the YouTube channel, so you can look all that up on the website. You can join our Discord for more information. Thanks to, and before we get into it, I just want to give a little shout out to Jabbar for this new background that we have for the podcast. Season 17's looking quite nice, almost like a disco party, and it makes me want to put some music on, maybe some Justin Timberlake, and
yes, sir.
Rock Your Body and all that sort of thing. So it looks good. So thank you for that. And another addition, a little snippet for the podcast, is we're looking to get the podcast on, I think, Apple Music and Spotify, so that those who prefer to listen on those platforms can. And if there's any other preferred platform, if you guys are listening and you would like me to try and put a RSS feed to it, so that you can listen on those platforms. Let me know in the comments or on Discord, and I can look into that. So we're looking to do that. I don't know if it'll be on there this episode or next episode, but during this season we're going to try and bump the podcast up a little bit, try to get it out to more and more viewers of F1, esports, and all the motorsports alike. So keep sharing, keep viewing, keep listening. And yeah, season 17's here. We're going to talk about it. Welcome, Canman and Forzan, to the podcast.
Good to be here, Seafreeze. Well, I gotta say, the reason I was getting so excited about your Justin Timberlake comment is there's a little bit of rumors that Seafreeze and Camden might be showing up to one of those concerts this summer. So just keep your eyes peeled for the TCR meetup if we end up doing that. One more quick thing. I am proud of you, Seafreeze, because you got the... oh, yeah. Well, I'm always proud of you, but you got the episode number right. Usually, I have to go on and look and be like, is it 36? No, it's 37. Now it's 38, and you got it right on the money. And also, we got Forzan here, which is great, because Forzan's wanted to be here for a while. So, yeah, Forzan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
You've been very excited to get on and get on one, and you're finally on one now. So
yeah,
I hope you have things to say and not nothing to say.
Well, that depends on the topic, doesn't it? Okay.
Yeah. So what are we feeling? How are we feeling? I'll let you guys start. How about that?
How we feeling? Well,
how we feeling?
I'm hyped up. Season 17 is here. We did do some preseason races last week. We didn't broadcast them, which is probably a good thing, because the Challenger preseason race wasn't really a race. It was more of a hangout. They were trying their best NASCAR impression, actually. So, yeah, that's in the past. But no, I'm excited. I can tell that these guys are really looking forward to it. It seems like we've already formed a tight-knit group of drivers, especially in the Challenger class. You know, it seems like these guys are really getting along. So I'm super pumped for Mexico.
Forzan?
Yeah, same. I'm very, very excited for this season. Hopefully I can do this time what I wanted to do last season, but it kind of failed miserably. But yeah. No, I'm very excited. I haven't really seen the Challenger grid yet, but looking forward to watching that as well. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really, but...
Well, you have a... Well, I guess we could start with the Elite since you're here, so then, you know, I don't even know what car or teammate you're in, but I know it's different.
Yeah, I'm in the... yeah, I'm finally getting to drive a car that I actually like. I and also a teammate that will show up compared to my last one that showed up to maybe 2 races and said, fuck it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter. I think it makes the show better.
Fuck it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I don't want to swear too much if we're not allowed.
I don't know. I don't make the rules.
Yeah, no, but like I said, it's gonna be good to finally be able to try and challenge for the constructors as well. This will only be my second full-time season where I actually take part. I have signed up for a few seasons, but things have gotten in the way, so I can't stay up and race. But it sorted itself out last year. I was on season 16. It didn't go super well, but yeah, that's in the past now. I'm looking forward to this season instead.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that real quick. So you had a lot of incidents last season. You got some penalties. You had that season ban, or multi-race ban, because it wasn't a full season ban, but you were very competitive though, up there winning races and such. And now I'm pretty sure you mentioned that you didn't really play at all in the last few months.
Yeah, no.
So how is this? How'd you get prepared for this one, and what's your mindset now?
Like, my mindset now is just I want to go into the season, have fun. I took the game way too seriously last season, and since I don't really enjoy the game too much, like, it's fun to race, but I don't play it usually. I only hop on to warm up for the race. But I'm taking a more relaxed approach this season, and the biggest difference between this season and last season is hopefully my gear will hold it together all season. Considering first my wheelbase broke last season, and then my pedals broke, so I had to race multiple races on the controller, and that was not fun. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna take a more relaxed approach this season. Have fun.
Now, you did say you had to miss a few races this season. How many are we expecting? And how do you think the new rules will play into that? Because now we're not counting all 14 races. We're only counting the best 12. So if you're only missing 2 or 3, then it's not as impactful as maybe the previous seasons.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's so good, because we have a break week, March 5th and 6th. So I'm probably only gonna miss a maximum of 3 races, but I don't think I'm gonna miss 3 races. We'll have to see. But my estimate is I'm probably gonna miss at least 1. But it's impossible to say until I get my schedule from work. But yeah, no, that new rule system where we will drop 2 races and only count the 12 best, that's really gonna help me out in that situation. If I miss races, so
Yeah.
I'll just have to make the ones I actually race count.
Yeah, I think we touched up on this a little bit in the last episode, but I think the racing is going to be a little bit different because that you have those 2 strikes now, to where your 2 worst races get counted out. So I'm almost curious to see if people get more aggressive because they know that they have some wiggle room if they have a DNF or so. So I don't want to say it's almost not rewarding consistency, but we'll find out for sure.
Yeah, that's what I want to find out as well. I think we've been so used to counting it the same way for 16 seasons, so when you change it up, and I would say a pretty big way, I know in iRacing it's a pretty common point system, at least for the official some of the official seasons that iRacing puts on. The official hosted races have a similar style. I believe it's out of the 12 races that they put, they only count the best 8. So they even have a couple more drop-off races. But I think this will be cool to see how that plays, and that's going to be a talking point all season. I think is those 2 drop-offs, because in seasons past, at least for Platinum class, which I know we have Elite now, but in the Platinum class era of pretty much BTOM's dominance of the last 5 or so seasons, he's shown up every single race. So if you miss one because you have a doctor, a dentist appointment, eating dinner, or whatever it is, although now thinking about it, I don't know who has a dentist appointment at 8:45 at night, but hey,
I wouldn't see myself having one at 3 a.m.
Somebody's got to be washing their hair or something, so they miss races for whatever reason. You miss one race, that's going to be pretty hard, considering that you still have to show for the rest of the races, and then possibly you have another DNF, then that adds to it, or even a bad result, 9th, 8th. Because to win the championship, you need top 5s every race and mainly podiums wins. So if you have too many races outside the top 5, not showing up DNFs, it's just going to be hard to do, especially with the grid that we have. And for the last 5 or 6 seasons, especially with BTOM on the grid, it was almost more impactful. I would have liked to seen how this format worked with Tom still on the grid. But now that he's off the grid, I know everybody should be doing jumping jacks and high-fiving each other, and they should be really happy. They should be really happy because now they finally have a chance to win the title because he is not there. So, hell, it even made me wonder, hey, I should come back and fight for a championship because he's not there. But in all seriousness, he should be on the grid as a good addition. But a new era, new name change, newly looking grid, new points format, different day as well. Our top series is now on a Wednesday, which is for the first time ever. Lots of changes, and we will crown a new champion. Assuming I don't come back by round 3 and win the whole damn thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you still got that injury you're working with. So, hey, if you come back with a broken arm and you win your 4th championship, I mean, that settles the GOAT debate right there.
Trust me, that's not gonna happen.
Oh,
I'm not gonna let it.
He's putting his chips on the table. He's going all in.
Yeah, like I was about to say when Chris said about the whole or C-Free, sorry, about the whole thing with BFAM not being here this season. I'm actually kind of annoyed about it because I really wanted to go head to head with him again. Now that my equipment is working in, I got the momentum going from taking a small break, just figuring myself out, starting to enjoy life again.
That's
so.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from that as well. I think a lot of it comes from the mindset and the motivation you have to get on there and practice and, to actually, perform on race day.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same last season as well, but once Qatar happened where my wheel just spun me out behind the safety car, like my motivation got a big hit there. And the contact between me and BFAM in Bahrain as well really didn't help either. So it just got screwed up all from the start, and I'm not gonna let that happen this season. I just want to keep my motivation going, keep doing the hard work.
Now, I will say that with Beton not being on the grid, let me just double check the roster here. This will be the first season in history that we don't have a platinum class or equivalent champion on the grid. Besides season 1 when we didn't crown one yet.
Yeah, you're saying that now, and then you're gonna come back, and steal the show.
Well, I'm at least saying full time.
Right. No.
To start the season, we've always had a former champion on the grid full time. At sometimes we've had 4 to 5 former champions on the grid at one time. Back in like season 10, season 11 or season 10, 9, around there. That's when we had 4 or 5 different champions on the grid at one time, full time. Even a couple seasons ago, we've had Odom's come back. We had myself. We had B-Tom. We had I think it was just us, and Destiny even came back for a round or 2. So yeah, this will be the first time we don't have someone who won that class. I mean, no one's won that Elite Series before, but at least TCR in our top division, we don't have anybody who's done it. No one's done it, at least right now on the current roster on the full-time grid. So we're going into it, and I think it just is a full reset. pretty much.
Yeah. Should we start to get into the polls and go over predictions?
Absolutely. Let's look at we'll look at Elite first, and then we'll round back. We'll come back to Challenger later. Let's see.
Cool.
If I can do this right. I did have it.
I'll play the Jeopardy music.
Go ahead.
Do 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 do. Actually, you know what? I have a handy dandy iPad Pro next to me. Can you wait like 30 seconds? That way I can get this thing up.
Jesus, you got the iPad Pro? That thing's ginormous.
It's pretty handy,
That's
honestly.
what she said.
Ooh. No kidding. That sounds awful.
Thank you.
It wasn't a compliment.
Alright, why is it not working? It just worked.
Don't make
a
me
minute
play it
ago.
again. I might have to play it again.
Why is it not working? It worked a minute ago.
Please don't make me listen to it again.
It was literally. I might have to do a. Oh no! Oh, here it is. Hey now. All right, here we go. All right. So the two questions were Camden.
The two questions for what?
The poll that we're going to talk about.
Well, you got the drivers and you got the constructors. Those are the two categories.
All right, and I got it up on screen. You can go through 'em. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so we're looking at the Elite Series and, the drivers and the constructors. The biggest thing I am looking at here is an overwhelming amount of support for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Silent and Forzan, by far, are the favorites on paper, just based on the predictions for both drivers and constructors. Alfa Romeo leads the constructors' predictions with the most first place and second place guesses, and Silent leads the drivers with the most picks for the championship. So that's what we're seeing. I'm curious to see what you guys think about that.
Yeah, and I guess I'll
you should probably start, and then I'll go, and then we'll have Forzan go last, since he's the subject here.
He is the subject.
I'm be patient.
I think when I looked at, constructors, it looks a little easier for me. Constructor-wise, I think Forzan, Silent, Alfa Romeo look to be the overwhelming favorites. Just because I could think you guys were top. I think Silent was runner-up last season. Forzan, you were third. So you combine that in one team. Looks good on paper.
No, I think Bama was ahead of me, but he's
you
not
might have
racing.
been fourth, but still, I think fourth or fifth. But considering you missed races with the race ban, I think that when you get rid of that and you put in the new point system and you showing up, I think more consistently, I think you two will definitely get that for the constructors. Although the big question will be, what are the Alpines going to do with GT, Line, and Remsley, because they set a new record with in TCR with the most points scored in a team overall in any class, any division. So they had they set the record. Them two were pretty dominant in the Golden Class last season. So they're going to continue the pairing, but they're going to be on, I would say, a stronger grid than the Golden Class last season, now in Elite. So where will they stack up? I have them at least P2 and probably challenging. but to what extent? There's some other teams that are nice as well. Mercedes with Jose and Professional, and I like the team of Red Bull. You got Cakes and KD, so I think. And I guess since he's here, Haas, Camden, and Raikkonen look good too.
Well,
Just a pity vote.
But then at that point, you'll probably name the whole grid at that point.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'll be a little humble here and say that I think Alpine is probably far and away more likely to finish ahead of Haas this season, because if you look at the elite grid, it really is the season 16 golden class grid with a little bit of platinum sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Because you have the Alpine drivers, like we said, they're returning as they were. Aston Martin is remaining the same with Rockstar and Sir Charles, me and Raikkonen. So it really is a repeat of the golden class. And like we said, Lyon and Remsley absolutely dominated last season in the golden class. So as long as they can pick up where they left off, there's no reason why they can't compete for the Constructors' Championship, which might be a bold take because obviously you have Forzan and Silent, on the grid, and they were both in Platinum last season. But I have Alpine finishing a close second. I don't think it's going to be a runaway.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think at times they could be leading it, maybe early on. Maybe even midway, because we have some of these, events throughout the season that'll get sprinkled in here that could throw a mix into it. Just also, FYI, tomorrow's a sprint race.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are forgetting that. We start the season with a sprint, and we end the season with a sprint. We also have the 3-tire special at Canada, which is round 3, and then also again at Brazil in round 12. You got the 100% race at Britain, round 7, and then the TCR GP at Jeddah, which is round 10. So with all those different formats throughout the season, I think that could fluctuate it. But I think by the end, I think you'll have the Alfa Romeos ahead by a good amount, I would say, over the Alpines, but I think coming out of the gate it'll be pretty close. And then those would be some, like I said, I think the team of Haas and Mercedes, Red Bull. I think also those three will kind of be in the conversation for who will be third. I think it'll be generally pretty close between those three. And everybody else, behind for constructors.
I agree. And really, you mentioned Red Bull. I like the lineup there because you got KD coming back, and it sounds like he's going to be racing the full season.
Yeah. And
we know he's got the pace. FND is going to be teammates with him, and FND is a solid driver. He's always good at qualifying. He won a bunch of poles back in the Golden Class. So those two are going to be good as well.
Yeah, and I think with KD, I think we only really saw 2 full races with him, and then he went to Platinum, and only I think, I don't think he had the best performances. I don't think that was his true performance when he eventually did get there and do a race or two. So when he's there in Golden. There's a slip up already. When he's there in the Elite,
add that to the tally.
When he's there in the Elite Series now, full time, we're gonna get a full season of what he can offer. So those 2 performances last season in Golden, when he was there, were they just really strong performances? Because he was outperforming GT and Remsley, at least in those 2 races, by a lot. If you looked at their lap times. But then again, in that full season, GT and Remsley have been putting in the work. So I think they kind of, if anything, when they get on the grid with some of these ex-platinum drivers coming down to Elite on Wednesdays, Forza and Professional Silent and KD, I think they kind of close the gap, GT and Remsley, because they put so much time into last season that they might even be in the conversation to be, our top drivers in TCR. So I don't think that's like my biggest question mark is where are the Alpines going to line up in the conversation with some of these other former drivers who have Platinum class winning experience, and a lot of it, because that'll be pretty much the answer to who will be the constructors. But I do, for drivers championship, I do have it going to one of the former Platinum class drivers, and I don't have that person who is currently in the in the booth currently.
Oh, womp womp.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have it going to.
Let me guess. Silent.
No,
Wait, what?
Really?
I have
Who?
it going to Professional.
Okay.
And the reason I say this is because I think on paper, I think Silent is quicker qualifier than Professional. And at times, race pace, strategy, the quicker driver. I think what affected Silent in the standings last few seasons has been missing the occasional 1 or 2 races. Not a lot, just the 1 or 2. And then having an off race or, something not go his full way. But he was always a top 3, top 5 driver. Professional had 2 runner-up seasons, if you remember, to beat Tom. And that was in season 14 and 15. So he did have a down season last year. But I think his motivation and the amount of time he'll put into this season with the changes that are coming to this season, I think it's kind of rejuvenated him a little bit. And I think it kind of shuffles him back nicely towards the top with this grid that we have now. So I think the experience he has, you could have 1 down season, that's fine. But I just know he wants it really, really bad. And I think that kind of sense of that season 14-15 Professional is who we're going to get. I think Silent, he'll still be there. And he'll be in the conversation. And I really do think them not being teammates this season, it could come down to them too. But I also think that since Forzan is Silent's teammate, I think they'll be taking a few points off each other, which could help Professional in the long run. So, yeah, I think that there. But I will say, Forzan, I think you are on paper the quickest qualifier, and in race pace, you're probably the quickest driver out of everybody and out of you 3. But I just think I haven't seen a runner-up season from you. You know what I mean? That's what I'm banking. I'm banking it off of history, what's happened in the past. Professional has a lot of runner-up seasons, or at least 2 back-to-back. Silent, kind of more recent runner-up, right, from last season. But also, if you look at the second half of last season, it went kind of, attendance dropped a lot. So I'm not going to say it was given to anybody, but when you only had 6 people showing up towards the end of last season, it's kind of hard to finish out of the top 6. You know what I mean? You're going to get points. You're going to have a good season if you're still continuing to show up. And Silent and Professional both did. So I just think that there. So I think Professional will get it. As far as P2, I think Silent or Forzan could. It could kind of be a toss-up there. But I do have Professional winning it all.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, and it's not that I don't believe in Professional. Like you said, like he's going to be one of the quickest drivers. He's probably going to finish top 3 in the standings. I've got Silent for the championship, and it's because of his consistency. And you mentioned before how one of the things that's hurt him in the past is the fact that he's been missing races occasionally. Well, that's not going to matter this season because he's going to have those 2 strikes to work with. So if he does miss a race or 2, it's not going to go against him. And the thing is, too, Silent had 0 DNFs last season. And I know the grid was a little underinflated, but he had 11 podiums. There were only 3 races that he didn't finish on the podium. And if you look at the other people on the elite grid, he's obviously one of the quickest drivers. So if you take that consistency, you take the fact that he's going to have those 2 strikes to work with, I do think that this is his year. I just can't see him coming second 2 seasons in a row. So I got him finishing first. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and Forzan will give us his takes here next, which I'm curious to see what he thinks. I have Alfa Romeo going 1-2 because, like you said, Seafreeze, Forzan's qualifying pace is really good, and we all know that if you can just get off the line, if you can get out of that craziness that is turn 1, you're going to be in a good spot for the remainder of the race. So I've got Alfa Romeo 1-2. And then for P3, I'm going to go with Lion because Lion also is good at not crashing out, and he's got the pace. So those are my 3. Professional, I think it's going to be a toss-up between he and Lion. I think it'll be close, but I just want to see more consistency from professional because my motto is, what have you done for me lately? Right. And like I said, professional, season 14, season 15, he was unbelievable. We really thought in season 15 that he was going to be the one to take down B-Tom. It came really close, actually.
He was the closest one to do it, I believe.
Yeah. So I just want to see that consistency from him.
Now, I will say one thing, and then we'll get to Forza. You just said that GTR has the pace to finish and the speed to finish P3.
I think so. Yeah.
How are you basing that off of? Because you did race with him, but he hasn't raced in Platinum in a few seasons with those guys of professional. Professional and GT used to be teammates, by the way back when. And he used to do a few races where he could have been on the grid with, likes of Silent and Forzan and others. But with KD, you remember those 2 races at the beginning of the Golden Class last season, maybe it's just a small sample size, 2 races where KD was completely a lot quicker. But what makes you think that he does have the pace? Just curious.
Well, I am a little biased because I've seen more from Lion than I've seen from KD, and even professional, because there were actually a couple of races at the end of last season where I went up against Lion for a win. I went up against him in Australia and at COTA, those 2 races. And he got me in both of them. And I really think part of it was pace, but Lion is as cool as they come. I'm telling you, when it matters most, he doesn't screw up. And that's why he started to win more as the season went on, because he didn't win many races in the first half of last season, even after KD left, Remsley won a race, Raikkonen won a race. It wasn't until halfway where Lion really started to show up. And even in the Platinum races last season, Seafreeze, that Lion ran, he was top 5 pace, I think, in every race. He might have finished 6th in one of them. But if I'm going based off of that, and the fact that we don't have guys like B-Tom on the grid, then that's just going to bump him up even further.
Good take, Forzan. What now? I think there should only be one answer if you're racing full time as a driver. It should be pretty obvious.
I think Camden will take it.
Wait.
No, what?
No. He's not even here. He's like, what?
Wait, who'd you pick?
What did I just hear?
I think Camden will win. No, no offense to you, Camden, but
Camden's gonna win it.
Listen.
Is he racing? Are you racing?
I think I am.
Are you on the grid? I don't even know. Are you coming?
I'm almost baffled that I just heard that. No, I want to hear this.
I didn't even know he was on the grid. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say afterwards, like, no offense, but I was joking. Of course, I think I'm gonna win the championship, no doubt.
That's what I thought.
He okey doked you.
No, hey, it's good to be honest and realistic, and I think the same way.
He said your name to pull you in, and then he dropped the line and he said, I was kidding.
I don't care. Go for it, dude. This is what the podcast is for. Man.
Listen. Let me explain myself, all right? I have not seen enough of Golden to know the pace of the drivers. All I know is I practiced with GTR Line and Rensley a few times last season, and I know that they can be quick. But I do think I am faster. I think I'm faster overall than everyone else on the grid. Like, I've always said I'm faster than B-Farm as well, I just haven't had the results to show it. I mean, I was outperforming him even last season when while I was on controller sometimes. So, yeah, I think I will win the championship, Silent will come second. Third, that's a tough one.
It's going to be a toss-up, I think.
I want to say Prof, but I know he doesn't gel with this game. He doesn't like 23, and because he doesn't feel what the car, from what he's told me, he doesn't get the sensation of that he's feeling the grip. If I remember correctly, what he said to me when we were practicing last season and all that. So I want to say Prof, but I do think one of the Alpines probably maybe will be the one to finish third. But then of course I think me and Silo will win the constructors. I don't have any doubt about that at all. And I do think Alpine will finish second. And Mercedes third.
Yeah. Real quick, going back to your comment about you winning the championship, I love that, because I'm more of a realistic person, and I think you're realistic too. Like, I'm not saying that you're not being realistic, but I know for me, like, my season's going to be different from you, right? You're going to be up there competing for the championship. Based on the people on this grid, I'm probably going to be a midfielder. I think with you, having that confidence is great. Just don't get greedy with it. Especially if you're leading a race, and I'm not saying just with you, I'm just saying in general, it is so easy to get greedy and want to get like a half a second more on your lead, or do something fancy with the strategy. You know, you have to take it one race at a time. And you know what they say, you know, it's not over until the fat lady sings. So you could go into the finale with a 24-point lead and lose the championship. We almost saw it in the Golden class a couple seasons ago. So it's never over until it's over.
Yeah, no, I know. That was partially my problem last season as well. I kept thinking about how is this going to affect my championship. Well, this season I'm just going to take it race by race. And I've always been like that. Like, if I'm out in the lead, I don't really care how close they get to me as long as I keep them out of the DRS.
Right.
Because then they just can't sit there and, you know, they literally just can't sit there just saving ERS and then just pounce on the final lap. Like, so I always make sure to keep them out of DRS, and then I find the pace that I need to be keeping up to keep them out of it, and then I'm there. I don't take a lot of risks because I've had a lot of experience of that when I first started being way out in the lead. And I'm like, no, I want to dominate this and win by 40 seconds when I'm 20 seconds out and in the lead. And I'm just like, no, I want to win by 40 seconds. And then I hit a curve wrong and I spin and I crash.
I will say that coming in to this season, you know, I think by the poll and a lot of people were probably predicting Silent because of what, like you said, Camden, you know, what have you done for me lately is kind of your motto. And the reason why I didn't pick you, Forzan, is due to that sort of as well, that track record. But if you listen to last episode, we drafted our TCR's best grid, and we had myself, Camden, and Professional. We all drafted 20 drivers, 20 different drivers in TCR history. And your name was not called at all.
Yeah, I know.
Now, that, to me, if I was racing, or just my mindset, would be, okay, I'm going to use that as the biggest motivation to say, I'm going to go win this championship. And that would be the biggest fuck you to me, Camden, Professional, and the rest of the league.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Because if you're telling me that you're not a top 60 driver, you know, and you go out and win the championship, now you're automatically top 20. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Be big.
I'm telling you, when I heard that I wasn't drafted at all, I could understand why, but when I heard that I wasn't drafted, that lit a fire in me, I can tell you, and I'm going to be using that this season.
Because I think even if you look at the draft, we looked at the history, right? And you've had moments here or there, but you haven't put that season, even like I guess maybe last season was a decent season, but a lot, you know, attendance issue, you know, you factor that in. I don't know, where did you finish last season? I don't even.
I did finish third, I think.
Third, okay.
I checked if it's up to date.
Yeah, so third. So before that season, that you never really finished anywhere relevant in the top five, right?
Season 15, I think I did 2 races.
Yeah.
And season 14, I only did 3 or 4. Then I mostly left because I just thought crossplay was so buggy, and I didn't feel like it was worth to sit up to 3 a.m. just to have a bug fest, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I just had those three shit races at the start where I qualified really good and things just didn't go my way. So I finished down low and I was like, yeah, no, this lead, I'm never catching up, so what's the point?
Yeah, you know, I do have a comment about him not being in the draft. I really don't think it's a big deal because, you know, I'll be a little honest. So I try not to focus on that when it comes to myself. You know, I really try and just speak with my results and go out on the track and just do the best I can and just not even think about, like, you know, like legacy or anything. I'll be honest, though, you know, I think I was drafted a little low. I'll be honest about that. And I think at the moment it kind of not upset me, but it was like, okay, like that's interesting that I got drafted that low. But at the end of the day, like if you just go and do you and you just put the results out on the track and you stay consistent more than anything else, then it's going to work out. You know, people know that, you know, we're all good drivers in here. You know, all 3 of us are great drivers, right?
Sure.
And we said it on the podcast that we were going to miss out on some people when we were drafting, you know. So we'll have to come back maybe next season and redo the draft and see if anything has changed.
Yeah, and
One thing I find funny is like you when I was listening to that podcast, like you could literally insert the Michael Jordan clip from The Last Dance when he says, you know, and I took that personal. That was literally me watching that podcast. I was like, okay, fine, you can have that. I'm gonna have the championship instead.
Now, just because of time, I will say any last. Let's just do one quick round of any crazy prediction of anything that will happen in Elite Series this season. It could be anything, driver, track-wise, an event. What's going to happen? Craziest thing. Craziest Hail Mary prediction.
I think we're going to have a surprise winner.
That's pretty bold.
Any who? Any
I haven't heard that one before.
Who we thinking?
Who is it?
Let's see the roster real quick. I don't even know who I'm racing against.
I will also, while you're saying that, I just want to quickly mention that this is also, I know you mentioned a lot of the golden drivers are still on this grid, but it is kind of a nice mixture of a lot of these drivers kind of haven't raced with each other for the, you know, as long as maybe the Platinum class grid has had. You know, for all those years, all those seasons, Platinum has kind of had the same drivers, same core drivers for many, many seasons. And once you get to know how drivers race against each other, you can kind of read them like a book. It with this different mixture, that also changes with it. So people are going to have to learn, like Zionical has to learn what professional and how his style is, right? And, you know, Silent has to learn what Remsley is going to do, right? So all these little things with the new roster come into play, and that's when we get these crazy events that we're going to predict right now. Go ahead, Forza.
Yeah, no, like Camden was saying, like, you haven't done a lot to show me lately. I don't want to be mean to the guy, but I would have Prof as a surprise winner, actually, if he wins a race, just considering how poor his last season was. And but at the same time, I do think he's gonna bounce back this season and maybe grab a win. So I don't want to pick him as a surprise winner because I know Prof can perform when he puts in the time and wants to. But okay, for the hell of it, I'm just gonna say, yeah, Camden's gonna win a race this season.
Let's go.
There you go, Camden. He came
we
back
like to
to you.
hear.
He made fun of you earlier. Now he gave you a token. You know.
I made him feel bad, and now he's
Yeah, exactly. I felt bad. I had to pick him.
Camden, how about you? What are we thinking?
So I've actually been waiting to say this. I've been waiting for the right time to say this, but
Well, here you
I
go.
think that Mr. Lawrence is going to finish 5th in points as a reserve, which I think is a hot take because we know he shows up 4 to 5 times a year. But remember, like we said, it really is a 12-race championship. So if we're reducing the races for everybody, and Lawrence showed up last week to the preseason race. He's possibly showing up this week, so it looks like he's going to show up a little more than usual. So, and with his record, he's almost undefeated in TCR. So, and we saw it last season in the Golden class. You know, Zionical nearly, while he was racing in silver, nearly finished top 5 in Golden. So if that can be done, then it can happen again. And this time it'll be Lawrence that does it.
That's a good one. Although that seems very common, or very. It could likely happen. I feel like.
You think so? With the grid that we have? You think so? With professional, Jose, Remsley, you think so? I don't know, man. I feel like that's bold.
I can say at
'Cause
least
when
if Lawrence shows up a lot, I actually think he could be able to finish 3rd if he shows up a lot.
Wow.
Because he really made me work at Australia. So he's a very quick guy.
I mean,
And
when
I'm
you
sure
show
he
up
can
and
steal a couple
win,
of
I
wins.
mean it adds up quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say he could finish either 3rd or 4th.
How about this? I think we will see the record of most race wins in a row start to come. I don't know if it'll be broken, but I think it'll be in conversation. You'll have somebody, either Silent, Forzan, or Professional, or Lawrence. Someone's gonna come in here and go on a streak. And
What is the record?
that is a great question. I forget.
It's probably Destiny that has it.
I think B-Tom has it now.
Oh, really?
I think he did break it. I don't know how many. I know he knows. But
Let's just say I'm going for that record.
I'm pretty sure it's like 5, 6.
Oh, I'm definitely going for it.
So, I don't know. I could see something like that happen. Anywho, I think we'll give the Challenger Series some love here. Now, we're not full on the race or the drivers here, so as I say every prediction, and I think it's even more relevant now, and it could even apply to the Elite Series, but the champion might not be on the grid as we speak, and they may not even be on the grid until round 3, 4, or 5, because now that we have this different point system where we're dropping 2 races, you miss the first 2 races and then you still show for the next 12, the remaining 12. You know, you can still maximize your points. You have a little, less wiggle room, but it could still be done. So that applies to both series, that the champion could possibly not be on the grid. And as we do have some opening seats, and a lot of drivers who raced who kind of flaked out last season, or because of the game and whatnot, you never know who might want to come back and be on the grid, especially when we start streaming. You have no idea who will show up, but always be prepared. But we'll go into the Challenger Series. Let me get the poll going here.
This will be fun to predict. This will be fun.
Yeah, especially for me, considering I don't know half of the drivers. I don't think I know anyone here.
Now, Camden, what are we looking at here?
Okay, so we are looking, rightfully so, at an F1 nerd domination when it comes to the predictions. An overwhelming amount of people says that he is going to be the driver's champion, which, like I said, is deserved because he came pretty close to getting the championship last season. And based on the grid that we have, I think he is definitely the favorite going into season 17. And the same applies to constructors. And boy, if Red Bull, which is F1 Nerd and Chabar, if they can pull that off, that would be Chabar's 3rd constructors championship, which I can imagine might be the most. It's got to be the most in TCR history. I don't know if DeFreeze, if you want to fact check me. Oh no, it's not.
Let me just clear my throat. None other than 6-time constructor champion, Seafreeze.
Oh my God, I am sorry. I did not realize you won it that many times.
You better put some respect on my name there, Camden, or we can have a problem.
I know. We might have to take this out back.
Seafreeze, it doesn't matter. In 7 seasons, I'll have beaten it by anyway. So.
Well, in 3.5 years, let me know.
I'll make a return to the podcast in 3.5 years.
So, let me know. I might not be here still.
Anyways, to wrap up this preview, so
actually, I think it's 7, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I have to fact check it.
7 is a lucky number, so that would make sense. But so Kluka has a lot of predictions as well. On the driver's side of things, mostly because he's a returning driver, won a race last season. He'll be quick. He's teamed up with Pilot Pants in the Mercedes, and they are probably the 2nd most predicted team, so they're favored to be 2nd. But you kind of have a toss-up with Alpine and Aston Martin as well, and we'll get into all that in a second. But the drivers might not be as close as the constructors. I think the constructors might be a toss-up.
Really? I was actually thinking the opposite.
I just gotta ask real quick. Is there a coincidence that both you and C. Luca have C. and then a Luca, or?
Yeah, there is a coincidence to that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Funny.
It is cool. Wait till you hear the actual reason.
Yeah, we're related.
Oh, could you imagine that I actually imagined something like that?
Where have you been?
We know who hasn't tuned into any silver class races.
Yeah, seriously. The stream is tomorrow night, by the way, for the rebranded silver class. So
Tonight, no.
I got
AKA
dinner
tonight.
by that time. Oh no.
Oh yeah, dinner at 3 in the morning. Yeah, definitely.
Bro,
No.
with my schedule, I wouldn't be surprised.
But to go back what you were saying, Kimden, I think that the constructors is actually, I think Chabar and F1 Nerd will get it again. I think Kluka Pilot looked good. And you know what? Maybe I'm thinking. Maybe you are right.
I love that name, Kluka.
But
Luca.
I don't know.
Fun to say.
I feel like Red Bull still look the strongest. Mercedes are there. But other than that, it's really I don't think I'm not too sure what Exo Dave will do for us. I haven't really seen him before, so I can't really know there. Bulldog didn't really show up to a lot of races last season. I know some guy is pretty good, so I think it really only leaves 2 teams for me, which is Mercedes and Red Bull. And I think out of last season, I think with the absence of Cyanical, now that he's moved up, should be a Red Bull win in the constructors, in my opinion. And then as far as the challenger pick for the drivers, you know, a lot of people pick an F1 Nerd, and I'm not doubting that. I just like to go away from the crowd. I know he's in the foundation, and we have to revisit who's in the foundation for Seafreeze's foundation as far as drivers, now that we condensed. When I look at the drivers here, I think multiple drivers can compete. Because remember, F1 Nerd really didn't win last season, or before last season. So season 16 was his first winning waves. So he was kind of motivated in practice. But now that the new seasons begin, or is beginning, you're going to see Kluka have a increase in performance. Rizzy's now in Challenger Series. He raced in Golden. D-Swish, all those times that he was really close, he has that speed at multiple tracks. I really like Some Guy. And I think he joined late, and that's who I have as the Drivers' Championship winner for the Challenger Series. Some Guy. I really liked his pace and what he did when he came into last season. And you know, you give those two round buffers this season. He's starting from round 1. I think he'll show every round as well. I think he's a guy who's going to put in a full season, and I think. Yeah, he wasn't there at the start from last season, right? So now that we're starting back from round 1, I think F1 Nerd, although he is by the poll the favorite, and on paper he is the favorite. You know, look at C. Rizzy. He was in Golden Class last season, right? D. Swish is going to be there for full season. Halberg, his improvements, Pilot Pants, Some Guy. So I think the drivers is maybe even closer than the constructors, where the constructors, there's really only 2 teams, in my opinion, Mercedes, Red Bull. But drivers, I think it comes down to a lot of drivers. You know, Speedin could also be in the conversation. Some Guy, Pilot Pants, F1 Nerd, D-Swish, Rizzy, Kluka, even Chabar, he won last season. So, I mean, it could really be anybody. It's just who's going to be prepared, who's going to be practiced enough to the point where they are going to be putting in, you know, a full season.
Right. You know, I will say, I think drivers is going to be close. I just don't think it's going to be close for first, because I really feel strongly about F1 Nerd, because first of all, he shows up every week. Yes. We don't need to have this conversation when it comes to, you know, Silent and the elite class. I almost said platinum class, because F1 Nerd has not missed a race in the past 2 seasons, and he's had 1 DNF in that whole span. Okay, not only that, but he's almost every single race in the past 2 seasons he's finished on the points. Okay, and now we're going into a season where I think the competition is going to benefit him a little better. Because remember, it was Ionical versus F1 Nerd last season. You know, it really wasn't that close, but besides those two for the Drivers' Championship, right? So you got to look at everybody else. Luca had 7 DNFs last season. I need to see a little less DNFs out of Kluka this season if he's going to be competing for the Drivers' Championship.
Agreed.
C. Rizzy is the same way. I just don't know if he's going to show up every week. You know, that's just my thing with him, is how many races is he going to miss. And then really, I think the other guy we got to look at is D-Swish. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, I think we're going to have one of the best rivalries in recent memory between F1 Nerd and D-Swish, because Australia of last season was incredible. The finish in the sprint race between them was 0.008 of a second. And then in the feature, it came down to them at the end, duking it out. F1 Nerd spins out. D-Swish finishes first on track, but he gets the win taken away. With how good their pace is and how close their pace sort of is, you're going to see a lot of battles between those two. So to wrap up my predictions, at least on the driver's side, we'll keep going. But I got F1 Nerd finishing first. I got D-Swish finishing second. And I got Kluka finishing third.
I will just give my 3, then we'll give it to Forzan if he's got some. I like some guy for the win. I think he'll take the championship, and I think it'll be over D-Swish. I really liked what he did last season as a quote-unquote reserve, even though he showed up every week.
Not a reserve.
He was in a different car every week too. So now he's getting comfortable. He's got a seat fitted. He could even be challenging for the Ford. But I got him P2 there, and then F1 Nerd I'll put P3. I'm just looking back at last season. When you look at, like you said, Kluka had a lot of DNFs. Pilot had some issues. I remember he had a disconnect, I think, in the first round. A couple other weird things happened with him over the season. Definitely has the speed to do it, but I looked at everybody else and it was like, all right, well, some guy also joined late. D-Swish also was his first season back in a long time, I will also mention, at least to TCR, but he returned. So when he had Zionicle up there, he was winning a lot in the championship, but he was winning it off of like Xenars and Bulldog, but they didn't show up every week, so they weren't up there in the championship. But F1 Nerd showed up, Zionicle showed up. That's why they're there. Some guy joined late. Others had problems, right? So that's, out of everybody else, there was really only them 2 left. And you remember, if you look at last season, Zionicle had a pretty bad middle of the season. And that's what allowed F1 Nerd to catch back up and to get his first win. And then he rode the momentum. And I remember going into the finale night of last season for Silver that we were asking F1 Nerd like how he felt, and he really he seemed like not as a competitive person as maybe a champion or real driver would feel. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you like? Are you talking confidence, or are you just talking like motivation?
Approach more. I think he has the motivation and the confidence. I think it was more just a different approach of like, oh, whatever happens, but I'm confident. But he was kind of almost too humble, I should say. I think he's very humble in his approach, and I think he gave a lot of respect to Zionicle, but we'll see, how much time he'll have to practice and whatnot. I know he's a college student as well, so that could also play into it. But I think starting from scratch again, some guy and D-Swish being there for round 1, already having pretty clean seasons, we'll just kind of reshuffle it a little bit. So
Yeah. Just one more quick thing before we hand it over to the Forzan. Just about those comments. I mean, everybody approaches things differently, and the way they present themselves, and there's people that are more humble than others. I actually like F1 Nerd's mentality because he's not putting pressure on himself. Obviously, I think he wants to win the championship. I think he's going to practice the way he's been practicing. But, him and, say, Forzan just have different personalities. F1 Nerd just is more, I don't want to say more humble, but he's a little more laid back and is just not trying to put any pressure on himself. I can relate because back in season 15, I feel like that was the most calm, cool, and collected I've ever been in a season, and that was the season I got my silver championship. So I don't think he's not gonna be as competitive or isn't confident. I think he'll get the job done.
let me just respond once to that
That's fine.
by one question, and you don't even have to answer it.
Okay.
It could be what do they call it? What do they call it?
I don't know, just
Rhetorical question. Look at my vocabulary.
there you
A
go.
rhetorical
Nice.
question. Name a humble platinum class driver. You're not supposed to answer it, and there is no answer. There are none.
I
There
don't-
are
I don't-
0 humble platinum class
I
champions.
mean, I would say that I'm in.
Every champion who has won is competitive as can be, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, but there can be a similarity between competitive and humble. It's just a matter of how you display it. Lewis Hamilton, I think, is a great example of that.
Nice, sore loser.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
I don't think we should get into Hamilton while I'm
Alright.
here.
Yeah, Forzan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know many of these guys, but
I guess you'll have to look and kind of pick your guy then.
yeah, I'm probably gonna go with some guy because I know he came in last season, started doing pretty well. Then I'll go with F1 Nerd and then D-Swish. And I think Chibar and F1 Nerd will take the constructors.
I agree on the constructor's pick.
Yeah, and let's do one more round of the crazy, bold predictions for the
Who got to win a
Challengers.
race?
It's not bold. You already won a race.
Listen, I picked you for Elite. I gotta pick your relative for Challenger.
There you
That's
go.
fair enough. Brother, by the way.
Oh, yeah, so we got a Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch situation going in.
Who's who? That's the question.
That's a very interesting topic.
Yeah. I'll let Seafreeze be the best for last prediction. I'll do my prediction next here. So I know that I said that constructors might be closer for the top compared to the drivers, but I did say that drivers was going to be competitive in general. I am going to go out on a limb, just based on what I am seeing. I think we will have 7 winners in 14 races.
I like that.
It's
I
pretty
think
cool
it's
because
cool.
I actually thought that you were gonna go there.
Great minds think alike.
I wouldn't call my mind great, but yeah.
Alright, and for me, I am going to go out on a limb and say that Speedy Gunner, returning to the grid in TCR in the Challenger Series, will win a race. And it will be in competition to one of his rivals, and he's going to win it off of Chabar.
No. Oh my God, Seafreeze. Oh my God, that's
That's
will
good.
be that'll be a hot topic when people see this. Oh
When
my
that
goodness.
happens, just make sure you come back and give this video a like, because I'm pretty good at predictions. You know what?
That's fantastic.
Speedy did finish a race first, but he had penalties. Remember that. He
I know.
lost it. I think was it Monza?
Yeah, no, I'm not questioning his ability. I
So,
just love the fact that you said he's going to finish ahead of his rivals, and we know who you're talking about.
And I'm not saying he's gonna be. I think he has his tracks. I think he practices and he's prepared for certain tracks. And we've seen some crazy races in the past. And sometimes you get put in position. Speedy. When he was racing with us, was very aggressive in defense, and almost too much because he got himself a little season ban action. But after that time away, him coming back, assuming he got the green light, he's back on the grid. I think he is going to get less penalties, but his defense is still going to be there, right? I mean, you don't take that away from a driver. I've raced some pretty crazy defending drivers that got themselves into trouble penalty-wise, but over time they learn to not get penalties, and then they get into that gray area to where they just do enough to still not get a penalty, but just enough to still get the position to where they're not getting passed, and they're right on the borderline of being too aggressive but not too much to where they'll get a penalty. And it's hard to pass Speedy. And I think he's going to bring that same aggressiveness when he needs it, but I think he'll be a little smarter this time of when he'll need to use that defense in certain situations. He's not going to use it every time. I think he has a little bit more. This time around, we'll see a different side of Speedy. And he's good at certain tracks. He has his certain tracks that he's quick at. And Chabar has been quick. I mean, he won last season as well. And he'll be up there. Chabar was almost naturally up there. And it was cool to see when we were doing the races last season for Silver Class that Chabar was almost just there towards the top five, competing for podiums, top fives. And we didn't, he was in the conversation. That's how much he improved. And I think he'll also get some wins and podiums this season, perhaps, with a very similar grid. And yeah, I could see an instance where maybe it's even for a sprint win, but you have Speedy and Chabar, and there'll be 1-2, or maybe one of them gets spun out. So it could happen.
Yeah. That would be awesome. As the commentator for the Challenger class this season, that's like my dream right there. I can picture the call already that I'm gonna make.
Nice. Well, I think we kind of went through it all. That was pretty nice. We got through a lot of the predictions, and yeah, I think we're gonna end it there. Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to say before we end it? Forzan, I also want to say thanks for joining us. We finally got you on a podcast. Is this your first time, or has you been on just it's been a while?
No, I haven't been on the podcast, and I'd like to thank you for letting me be on it, and definitely hope I'll get to come back soon because it's been very fun.
Absolutely, and if there's anybody out there who wants to be on a podcast episode, let us know either in the YouTube comments or in the Discord. And yeah, this will be released Tuesday morning as you're listening to this, so that means it is race day. Challenger Series starts off round 1, season 17 tonight, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Elite Series will be tomorrow, Wednesday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, and not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, next week, February 8th, starts our iRacing Super Formula Series on Thursday. We're unsure if we're going to be streaming it or what we're doing with it at the moment, but that'll be Thursday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time as well. You can check the description for more information. Sign up. We still have openings, so sign up and get on the grid while you can. We also have a lot of roles open, so if you would like to help TCR out in any way, you can let us know and we'll get you on the team. Other than that, it has been a pleasure from Forzan, our guest here today, to our usual co-host of Camden, Luca. My name is Seafreeze, and until next time, thank you for listening.